What if you could live forever? I mean, really, think about it. For thousands of years, it's been the stuff of myths and legends. But today, it's not a dream anymore. It's a very real possibility that scientists and ethicists are grappling with right now. And that's exactly what we're digging into today: the incredible promise and the profound perils of immortality. Seriously, this isn't just some question from a sci-fi movie. It's a debate that's happening in labs and universities all over the world. If we could just stop aging in its tracks, what would that actually mean for your life, for your family, for all of society? As you're about to see, the answer is, well, they're complicated, and people are deeply divided. So on one side, you have this incredible vision of a future without the downsides of old age. Bioethicist Dr. Alina Park, for instance, sees this as the ultimate medical breakthrough. Just imagine a world where you have centuries to master new skills, build deeper relationships, and maybe even solve humanity's biggest problems. For people who think like her, it's not just a cool idea, it's a moral imperative. But for every optimist, there's a skeptic. And social theorist Professor Marcus Reed, he paints a much, much darker picture. He warns that a world without death could become a world without progress, a world of crushing inequality, and maybe worst of all, a world where life itself starts to lose its meaning. This is the fundamental conflict we're going to be exploring. Okay, so what are we actually talking about when we say immortality? It turns out there's more than one way to live forever. Let's break down the possibilities, because the details really matter here. The one you probably think of first is what's called biological immortality. Now, this doesn't mean you're invincible. You could still get hit by a bus, unfortunately, but your body would simply stop aging. It'd be like hitting the pause button on your biological clock forever. But that's just one path. We could also see a future with what's called clinical immortality, where we've basically cured all diseases, or functional immortality, where we just live for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then there's the really mind-bending idea of digital immortality, uploading your consciousness to a computer. But that, of course, brings up a huge question one Professor Reed asks a lot. Is a perfect digital clone of you still you? So we've got a handle on what immortality could be. But what would it feel like to actually live an endless life? Would it be the dream we all imagine, or could it turn into some kind of eternal nightmare? On the one hand, Dr. Park argues that an endless life would be an unbelievably rich life. You'd have time to learn a dozen languages, master several instruments, build relationships that spanned centuries. But Professor Reed offers a really chilling counterargument. What if our mortality is what makes life precious in the first place? Without that deadline, would we lose our motivation? Would we just be doomed to an eternity of boredom and the constant pain of outliving everyone we ever loved? Now let's zoom out, because the implications here go way beyond our own individual lives. If we all lived for centuries, it would fundamentally reshape society. So what would that new world actually look like? The potential for progress is just enormous. Imagine a world where scientists and artists could work on their craft for hundreds of years. The breakthroughs would be incredible. But there's a dark side to that coin. A world where leaders never step down, where new ideas are stifled by the old guard, and where young people are totally locked out of opportunities for generations. And then, of course, there's the most basic question of all. Where would we put everybody? I mean, the math is pretty simple, right? If people stop dying but keep having babies, our population would just explode. As Professor Reed points out, this could lead to some unbelievably difficult choices. Would we have to start regulating who can and can't have children? It's a tough question. But there's one issue, one big one, that both our experts agree is the most critical and, frankly, the most dangerous. Who gets to be immortal? Imagine for a second a world where immortality is real, but it's for sale, and only the super rich can afford it. What happens when the wealthiest 0.1% become, for all intents and purposes, a separate immortal species? Now, Dr. Park hopes that immortality would be treated like a public good, something available to everyone, like a vaccine. But Professor Reed, he's a lot more cynical. He points out that new technologies are almost always expensive at first. So without some serious government intervention, we could create a world of immortal oligarchs whose wealth and power would just grow and grow for centuries, creating a gap between the haves and the have-nots that would be literally impossible to ever bridge. And that really brings us to the absolute heart of the matter, doesn't it? The technology itself is neutral. The moral and social outcome, that depends entirely on the choices we make about who gets access. So, are we doomed to a future of immortal tyrants and endless boredom? Well, not according to our experts. They both agree that we can avoid the pitfalls of immortality, but only, and this is a big only, if we start planning for it right now. And this is the key takeaway. Immortality itself isn't good or bad, it's a tool. And just like any powerful tool, it can be used to build a better world, or it can be used to tear our world apart. The choice is completely up to us. So, what can we actually do to make sure immortality is a blessing and not a curse? Well, for starters, we need to create international rules to ensure fair access for everyone. We'd probably need to rethink our economic systems to prevent the rise of an immortal superclass, and we'd absolutely have to strengthen our democracies to make sure that no one can hold on to power forever. And this is the question we want to leave you with. The science is moving faster than you might think. This debate, it's not just philosophical anymore. It forces us to confront our deepest values about life, about fairness, and about what kind of future we truly want to build. The real question is, are we prepared for the answers?